Machinist.
Welcome to the May meeting of the Forsyth Amateur Radio Club. Glad to see everybody tonight. Got a few interesting things to discuss. Gene's going to talk to us about the filters that he's been building for field day, and we're going to see about this getting rid of this Heathkit amp in here, a couple other things. So with that out of the way, we'll start with introductions. I'm Tim, AG4RZ, and we'll go around the room from there.
I'm Henry, W2DZO.
Don, WS4NC.
Judson, KG40HQ.
Doug, KJ4IGQ. Neil, WD4LSS.
Dan, KC4WSK.
David, KJ4OIL.
Zay, WA4MKK.
Jim, W4UX.
Brad, WB4QXG.
Carl, M4PAA.
John, N0KC1.
Terry, AK4D.
Doc, WB4QIZ.
David, N5WNB.
Here at K4GW.
Gene, W4MSD.
Woody, KF4PLQ.
Phil, KD4JZZ.
Took you a while on that, Phil. He's a little slow.
Am not.
Raymond, WXI AAA.
All right, and Dano's coming out of the shack there.
You want to watch out for being dressed like that.
Yeah, I was starting to
you
say
get shot.
the hoodie will get you hurt. I guess the next step would be to go to the secretary unless we hear a motion.
Okay, I guess that means you want me to read them.
I asked for a motion and none was made. So.
From the April club meeting, we received 3 more renewals and 4 returns from a mailing of 256. Auction results were we got $2,751 to be put toward newer HF gear. Program was a review of fox hunting field day report by WB4MSG, and the program on fox hunting was given by Jerry and Mike, W4GW and KD4WJA. The beginning treasurer's report was $1,381.27, not counting the auction proceeds above. NCQP, we had received 164 logs, the most ever. Congratulations, Henry. Full report probably in June. Aries, looking for volunteers for 3 Mountain Madness. From the business meeting, the treasurer's report was then $4,262.97. There have been some problems reported with the Paragon radio, and that is up in the air. We're going to discuss that with Jeff, who bought it. Terry requested an email out to members soliciting input for FCC review of antenna CCRs, and sorry I didn't get my computers going till the day after the deadline. New repeaters at the dealer in Raleigh. The lightning damage was quickly repaired. Field day, there was a request for 20 PL259s and 10 UHF barrel connectors. I've already got them, and Henry's already written me the check. Dan helped measuring coax. Thank you, Dan. There's some beams of Moxon and X-beam been constructed, 16 and 15 meters out quads. There will be gobs of antennas, quote unquote. Raymond requested a letter on club letterhead stating we're a 501c3, so we can get free HD streaming. There was a request for a 2-meter 440 antenna, which was approved. I don't think we bought that yet. Long discussion about what to replace the ICOM 706, and the final decision was everybody likes the 706. Nobody seems to like the 7000. We're going to buy a new set of finals to keep on hand because they are getting hard to get, and we're going to stay with the 706. And there were 4 more member renewals, 1 mail return, and the Heathkit amplifier will be sold at the next FARC meeting with a minimum of $300, and that will be tonight.
I guess treasury report.
All right, got a couple things to cover. First of all, we're sitting at, after writing a check, and I've collected a little bit of dues tonight, but that's not included. We're sitting at $3,149.15. That includes the $2,100 2182 deposit made from the receipts from the selling of the equipment, less a check from Jeff that Don had mentioned. Is Jeff here? Okay. We're holding that check because there was a problem right out of the box with it, and we're trying to make it work for them and for him and for the club. And so we're Don's got it on the bench. We're trying to make it all happen. So we'll let you know what happens when that completes. Yet, but we're ready to do that at any time. We just hadn't we hadn't dispersed anything yet from that initial bat, so I just waited until, and I thought we might be able to get the situation with Jeff's rig taken care of. But we're not far from that, but we're not done with that yet. And while I've got the floor, quick, Hamfest, we have a board meeting next week, and then we'll have a meeting after that. But next week and the week after that are important meetings to come to. We have basically 4 main things that have to be covered at the Hamfest. One is parking, one is concessions, one is prizes, and one is load in, load out.
You mean next week or next month?
What are you talking about?
You said next week.
Yeah, we have a meeting next week, and again, and a week after that, the
Hamfest meeting,
Hamfest.
yeah.
Yeah. So be thinking about what you want to do. You know, concessions is, an hour here, an hour there. Nothing really big. Prizes is just giving the prizes away. We'll have most of them there. Load in and load out is just helping people in Friday night, and then in the morning on Saturday, and then getting them out the door, at noon on Saturday. This is, I don't know, of the first one in probably 24 Hamfest I'm not going to be at. My son's graduating from high school, so the family has told me that that's more important. So I will be watching him hopefully walk over the stage. But this is kind of a strange situation because it is my employer that's renting us the building. So I've already, Tim and Terry have volunteered to sort of be me, and they'll have the keys. They'll be in charge during the day. We're not going to do a full cleanup. We're going to get everything kind of looking good, and then Sunday I'll get a couple fellas to come back and we'll just make sure everything's put away.
There was some confusion last year. When is load in on Friday?
6 to 9.
6 to 9, thank you.
And we will have DBJ there. Mike will be there, I'm sure. And
Where's tailgating?
tailgating's in the same spot outside. I will be there Friday, so we will be, I'll be there in the afternoon. School is out at that point.
Is there anything happening in the other gym?
No.
We're the only event happening?
Yes. Yes. So the other gym, there might be a basketball, a couple kids play basketball or something. It's not-
No, but...
Yeah, we don't have that big event, no. So we're good there. So we'll take care of everything Friday afternoon. I will be there probably after noon on Friday. If you're one of those guys that wants to come out and just see what's going on, come on out, or just give a call on 6-4 whatever. I'll have a radio. And then we'll be there till about 9, and then we should close up shop, and then we go from early Saturday morning till noon, close it up at noon, and you should be out by 1. I will be in text mode if there's critical confusion, but hopefully not. And that's for the Hamfest. So be thinking about the job. Folks that helped last June, it went great. So if you want to do the same thing, it'd be wonderful. Last thing, the North Carolina QSO party, where we finished up, I think, at about 166 logs. I have not finished going through things yet. I've had a couple people want to change things, their categories, and some people wanted to be check logs and all that stuff. But it has been a pretty good turnout for this event. We had spoken at a club meeting earlier in the year about the thought of passing on the sponsorship, and we'll have news about that in the next month or so. We're in the process of shoring that up, but I can tell you that we do have another organization that's interested, and they'll be taking it over next year, which is wonderful. We made a deal with Alamance that we do it for 10 years, and this is the 10th year. I can't believe it's been 10 years already. It's been 10 years. So that'll be that'll be coming up soon. And I'll probably have that confirmed, hopefully by the board meeting, and we'll send some information out. But we're trying to make sure if we're not sure about it, then people are not going to know who to send their stuff to, and we're just waiting until all the awards have been announced and sent out. Then we'll go ahead and make a club announcement for that. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Guess if Dale's prepared, we can do a technical committee.
Can I precede it with the VC? Congratulations to two folks tonight, KK4HSC, Gregory T. I can't pronounce his last name, he's not here, but upgraded from tech to general. And Mr. Mann, Brian Mann, son of KB4WJA, had passed his technician, so he wasn't able to stick around either. So when you see him, special congratulations to them, and as always, the VEs. Many of them are sitting right here. Appreciate their efforts. Otherwise, without them, we wouldn't have this program. So, Steve, Mike, Jim. We have some other V's that were here before as far as volunteering. Jerry, Neil. Hope I didn't miss anybody else here. Of course, Henry, John, Don, and Tim. Terry. So, quick brain fade. Okay, now for the good stuff as far as the repeaters. As of the standard, as about an hour ago, all three repeaters are up. I'm not sure of the status right now, but hopefully they're still up. And special thanks to Henry. We've had a number of different dialogues with our friend in Raleigh, and a lot of dialogues. And he happened to be visiting out there. I think he had a band meet, Henry?
Yeah, a band show.
So we had a little bit of encouraging communication out there, and Henry was able to drop by. Now the new repeaters in the Winston-Salem area. So hoping maybe, no promises, maybe around the June time frame. I want to make sure it's configured right, build cables, configs, the interface, and everything else. So it's not in a state where it's either in California or almost here in North Carolina, so hopefully they'll come along good. The Equilink nodes, 4.7 is up, 6.4 is down. Got to rebuild a repeater. I've had some, hosting my system, I've had some Time Warner opportunities, like a Microsoft opportunity, aka problems, trouble. That's resolved where the signals are coming through the internet again, so 4.7 is node is up. What else? That's about it right now, unless anybody has any questions. Okay, thanks, Tim.
Jim, you want to do an areas report?
Sure. A couple of great opportunities. These are not problems. These really are opportunities. First one coming up, the County Emergency Management managed to get a grant for a hazmat drill, and this is all happening in a short time frame. The drill will be held this coming Saturday, May 19th, and they've invited us to participate. Situation, they'll start at 7:30 that morning with a staging area near the IHOP at the Peters Creek, Silas Creek area, because you'll have everybody who's going to be involved in this will be there, including the fire trucks and this and that and the other. You can't miss it. But anyway, from the staging area, the simulated incident will happen at the old Stroh's plant. So they're going to send up a command post, mobile command post there, and take various responders there. From there, they'll send simulated casualties to Baptist, Forsyth, and Kernersville Medical. We've been invited to have one person at least, or more, if a lot of you would like to get involved, at each of those sites. Partly to do some communicating for them between the sites, but also as a chance to practice field reporting among ourselves. And Eric is working up the training for this with some ICS 213 format messages, which is the FEMA equivalent to our radiogram, and also with MT63 if we've got the right gear there. So the event starts at 7:30 with the briefing. activities start at 8:30. Everything will be wound up by 2. They will provide lunch. Chef Tell is sending his best Red Cross baggie lunch for us, but it's better than MRE's, guys, besides it's free. So if you're interested, please let me know tonight, because I've got to respond on Wednesday to the guys at Emergency Services. Okay, next month, June 2, once again, it's time for the Three Mountain Madness, and we need 17 would be ideal. 16 operators would work it with somebody doubling in one of the spots. I've got 13 for sure and a couple of maybes at this point. This is an all-dayer. If you've done it before, you know what it is. This is the knot race. They make sure we know that. This is the bicycle event that is the charity fundraiser for the Pilot Mountain Recreation Center and for other charities in Surrey County. They've got a fairly large field of cyclists. They have 6 rest areas. They've got 5 vehicles. We also station relay stations at Pilot Mountain, Sorrowtown Mountain, and then Hanging Rock. Last year, Stephen doubled as that relay because we're using the Goldwing motorcycle guys, and they'll be on CV Channel 1. Our relay stations then pick up their information and pass it into the ham radio net and back on out. The Goldwings are actually following the pack, so they're going to probably be the first people to come across an incident. Open for volunteers. I'd love to hear from you tonight if you can do it. There is a little more time in there, though. I am meeting with the non-race directors next Monday night, so I'd really like to have things nailed down by then. Any questions on either of these events? Any volunteers for either of these? Yes, sir.
I'll do Three Mountain Madness.
Okay, I'll see you. Anybody else?
I believe you have me down for Three Mountain.
Yeah, and when we get finished with the meeting, could you give me your email address so I
Sure.
can send you the packet?
Sure.
Great. Anybody else? Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, is there any other new business that we need to discuss?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey everyone, I'm Raymond, if you don't know me already. I'm working on a couple projects right now with W4NC Live. One of the things that I want to try to do is make a 15-20 minute segment of a clip presentation of how you use your rig in your shack. So it's kind of like what I'll do is, at least the thought is when you're ready, if you have time and I'm able to schedule it, I'll come over to your place and film you, showing me how you use your rig and actually using it. More kind of like everybody has different rigs, everybody uses their rig differently. In this particular case, it's kind of like trying to show how everybody else uses their rig. So it's kind of like if I get this rig, this is how such and such uses it this way. You can expand this is just a baseline right here, you can take it from there. But if anybody's interested in participating in that, please come see me afterwards tonight, or give any of the club officers a call, or you can send me an email to wx5aaa@gmail.com or to info@w4nclive.com. Thanks.
Gene?
Yeah, I want to pass around the sign-up sheet for field day, and what I've got on here is a place you can put your name, your phone number, email address, and any time you would have, if you think you might have time before field day weekend, and then if you're going to be there on Saturday and Sunday for field day, and it's just to get an idea of who all's planning on coming, and this is to either help with maybe building an antenna and putting it together when you get to field day, or just being there to help operate. So I just wanted to pass that around tonight and kind of get an idea of who's willing to stick their name on the list and say they'll at least come out and help. So.
Well, while that's going around, then I guess the next order of business is the Heathkit amplifier that we have. For those of you that didn't see the newsletter, there are copies up here. Yeah, the 220 is in the shack. It does include 160 meters. We're going to do a live auction for that tonight. The opening bid is going to be $300 on that, so if anybody wants to step in there and look at it, if they haven't, if they're interested in bidding on it, feel free to do so now, and we'll take 5 minutes to do that if you want to, and then when
I put in the newsletter that it would be after the program.
I'll do that after the program. Okay.
Around 8:30.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Well, then in that case, anytime between now and 8:30 that you want to step in there and look at it, feel free to do so, and we'll do the auction at 8:30. And if there's no other new business, then I guess we'll go to Gene, and he can tell us what he's been doing with the filters and the rest of his prep for a field day.
Right, let me ask you a question. Can you do us, can you film us on field day?
Yes, that's the plan. There is a channel that I've set up. It's called W4NC Live Special Events, and that'll be at the I won't know more until we get closer as far as a time that we'll be actually transmitting a field signal, not from this unit, but another remote unit that I have. So.
Can you disconnect this one?
You don't want that? Okay, yeah,
I just
sure.
need the video.
Oh, yeah.
In doing the stuff to get ready for field day, I started to do a lot of checking on, because we want to set up, the way we've got it planned so far is to have 8 stations operating. So we're going to have, some bands we're going to have as much as 2 to 3 stations on the band at a time, and then we're going to have stations basically on every band all the time, if the band's open. So the big concern was blowing the front end out of another rig. And what I thought might be of interest to everybody is what I discovered from some of the stuff online that other people have done research on, and just what you might run into at your own home. And I don't know if this is going to show up on the thing too good or not. I don't know if I can get it to expand that full screen. At any rate, W8JI has one heck of a website. I believe the guy's dedicated his whole life to ham radio, totally. And he has a lot of interesting stuff. And what I ran into on his site was stuff like this chart. If you have two, well, let me get the right one here. If you have 2 vertical antennas that are set up perfect, and they are spaced at 100, 200, or 400 feet, and you're running 1,000 watts on one antenna, how much power will be coupled into the other? Which anything over 50 milliwatts they consider lethal to the front end of a rig. So you can see there, if you were on 160 meters, and even if you had 400 foot separation, you'd still be getting 26 watts right into the front end of your rig. So anybody that's here that may have a couple of verticals set up and a couple of rigs and stuff hooked up to both of them all the time, whether whether one rig's on or not, that power's still going in there. So you've got anything in the front end of that rig that's hooked to the antenna port there all the time, and you've got some resistors probably in the attenuator circuit, and you've got diodes in the front end, and 26 watts will just blow one of them slap up. And even if you come on down on the different, as you go up in frequency, you get less coupling. So even down on 10 meters, you've still got 0.12 watts when you've got 400 foot separation between the 2 verticals. Well, he goes on down the list, and he has, if you've got a dipole and a vertical set up, and the dipole is broadside to and centered in the path of the dipole, this really makes a big difference because he's still showing running 1,000 watts on the one antenna, but now you've only got 0.13 watts at 400 feet coupling, which is still enough to blow the front end out, but there's a way to get around all that power coming in, and that's by putting a filter in line. Well, let me back up. If you're transmitting on the same band, you don't have anything to stop that. So really, you couldn't operate with the 0.13 watts on two verticals 400 feet apart on 160 meters, or you're going to blow the rig out. Most of these contest stations that have the big setups, and some of them run as much as 3 and 4 rigs on the same band at the same time. And the way they get by with it is a quarter mile away, they've got a receiving antenna system that consists of a bunch of beverages, and so they don't even, they don't even come into this field pattern. So we operated 160 at the house, and we ran 3 K3s, and I had those so that we could receive at all times on the 2 that was just sitting there for looking for stations. We actually only had 1 that was transmitting, but anytime it transmitted, I broke the antenna path to the other 2 rigs like 3 times, and we could take any of those rigs and tune across the transmitting rig's frequency, and we only saw like an S9 signal, so I didn't have anywhere of blowing the front ends out of the others. At field day, we got a little bit different situation though, and we're not going to be operating 160 at all, but on 80 we are going to have 2 rigs on the air at a time if we've got one on sideband, one on CW. And you can see at 400 feet we're going to be at 0.049 watts, so we shouldn't have any problem of blowing the front end out of another rig. So, and they come down, our spacing on most of the other stations, 10 through 40, is going to be over 100 foot between antennas, because we've got a really good range of distance over there to cover with our antennas. The only problem with them is that we're going to need about 2,500 foot of coax, and with what the club has, and I've got to put about 20 connectors on, and I think we got, what did we say, 10 or 15 barrel connectors. We're going to have a bunch of splices, but at any rate, we're going to have, we've got 2,500 foot between what the club has and what I've got, because I've got about 1,200 feet, I think, myself, that I used for field day last year, from what we had set up in the trailer, because we had stuff all the way up the hill, and that one run up the hill is like 300 feet, I think. But at any rate, so we've got enough coax to cover it, but till we get there and start rolling them out, we're not sure, which piece is going to go where. So we got a lot of work to do that day of getting coax to the antennas. But as you can see, with somewhere between 100 and 200 foot spacing, we're down below a half watt. I mean, 50 milliwatts.
Well, actually, we're more
on
than that.
40 and on 20, and I didn't have the chart on that.
Gene?
Yeah.
Are we more than that? Because that's based on 1,000 watts. And
Yeah.
one is-
Well, I'm
and
going to
one
go
will
over
put
that.
a-
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, and I've got that too. Let me shut this one down and bring the other one up. Somebody's got a lot of music going on.
Tommy, shut that thing off.
I put it on silent.
That's not silent.
Shut up.
We may need to get our technical committee chairman to sit down with you about
Okay, this is what, at running 100 watts instead of 1,000 watts, this is what I calculated it out to be on 80 meters, and this was with 100, I think I had it with 100 foot spacing. Yeah, 100 foot spacing. Even on the same band, we've got 0.045 watts, so that's below the 50 milliwatt level. And the rest of them are way below that, so we shouldn't be blowing any rigs out from running on the same band. What you will get into though is just front end overload, and like if you were running a couple of Icom 706s, you're not going to be able to do it because the front end's just going to get overloaded up the gazoo. you might can throw the attenuator on, turn the RF gain almost off, and be able to work some people that way on the same band. But with the K3s, we shouldn't have any problem, because well, like that 706T station that's on right now, I think they're running 4 K3s, and they're running 1,500 watts, and if you've seen their antenna layout, it's all pretty crowded, and they're able to do it. So, you know, we're only going to be running 100 watts and shouldn't have a problem. Now, to get rid, what you end up with, though, even between different bands, the antennas are going to have, we're going to use single frequency or single band antennas, except for the tri-bander that Jim's going to be using on CW. And then we've got a tri-band element Tim's going to be using on PSK. So those will be picking signals up from all 3 bands basically all the time, and feeding that in as either second harmonic interference or just a little bit of overload possibly. So what you have to do is try to get that level down. And the way you do it's with filters. And I thought everyone might be interested in seeing this sort of stuff. The filters that we're going to use, I wish this thing looked a little better. These filters, there's a club that sat down and tried to come up with a way to make field day filters and make them cheap and make them reliable, that you could duplicate them without any problem and they'd work, and you didn't. The biggest thing with building filters is getting the capacitors right. In tuning the filters, some of these filters that they have as much as 20-some capacitors in them, and they're all built in computer power supply boxes. And the reason is they could get them for free from people that the power supplies have blown up. So they all consist of PVC pipe with number 14 wire wound on it for the coils. So you didn't have to have anything really exotic to do the coils with, and all you needed was capacitors. Most of these capacitors that's in it are 3,000 volts or 6,000 volts. And as long as you don't use silver micas, you can get those fairly cheap. The club's cost of building 10 filters with everything is going to be about $130 or $40, and if you went to Array Solutions and bought this same set of filters, or to any of the filter companies, you'd be looking at $700 or $800. So, you know, it's a heck of a deal for filters that are as good as these.
Let me point out also that that's half the price of a rig repair.
Oh yeah.
Just
More than that. We've always gotten away
Or is that one not
Yeah.
possible?
with every year running 2 rigs, and the statement is, oh, go ahead and do that, it won't hurt it, we've done it before. Last year we fried a 920,
Yeah.
so it's not the fact, and we fried it.
Yeah. So you never know, but if you take those levels that was on the chart I had, even at 100 watts, and you've got a signal level, let me show you what this amounts to, and this will make you see why at home this is important. Because a lot of people now have 2 rigs and may park one on 10 meters and run the other one on other rigs at different power levels. And this is a chart that shows you, if you're running 1,500 watts, what your dB level is versus 100 watts versus what it takes to blow the front end out of a rig. So if you get over there, 50, this is somewhere, it's a little bit of a gray area here, 50 to 60, 70 milliwatts, because you don't ever know which rigs have got what components in the front end, so they figure 50 milliwatts is a pretty safe level for any of them. But so you're still looking at a signal there that is plus 20, but if you're feeding that much in it continuously, you're going to heat the resistors up in the attenuator and blow them, and once you do, you're either going to blow your diodes out, take front end FETs out, or whatever, because Don knows he's been changing them out in that 920 trying to fight it for a while. So at any rate, we're going to be coming in with a, say, just give it rough estimate of a 20 dB signal, well, you still start getting the front end blocked completely out on an FT1000, and that's 10 times better than a 706 ICOM. So what that means is you wouldn't even be able to hear anybody that isn't stronger than a plus 10 if you didn't do anything to help that. So you build a filter that will knock out 40 dBs, and that gets you down to below an S9 plus 40, and then the rigs can handle that okay, and you can still hear signals then that are, you know, on down S8, S6, 5, 4, 3, on down in there. These filters that I'm building were the cheapest way to go, and I got one here if anybody cares to see it, but you can pass that around. And that's what they end up looking like. And like I said, what they have is 40 dB attenuation on the bands on either side of them. I don't have, well, there's a chart on that one. You can look at the little chart and see. It had like right at 40 dB on the band above 20 meters, which is 40, and then on 10 meters it had 60 dB attenuation. So that means we'll be on down to in the minus 40 to 50 dB range. So when you tuned across a second harmonic of that station that's transmitting on the other band, you'll just see it as another signal on the band, and you get 10, 20 kcs from him, you never know he's there. So without the filters, you couldn't operate. If you're working in a big contest environment, then those filters aren't good enough. So then you have to do something a little bit more pronounced. This is filters that W3NQN, well, Array Solutions sells a filter box like this. They're $1,000 a piece. There's a guy on the island of Cyprus that has the board set. I'm building 2 of these up so we can run 2 rigs at the house and get rid of some of the problems I've had trying to do that over the years and maybe keep from blowing all the rigs up. I'm going to have about $800 in 2 of them. So saving a little bit of money, but a lot of work, as you can see. But all of the filter boards, in case you blow something, you can replace the stuff on them pretty easy. The thing with the capacitors, there's a company in England that for the Bavarian contest groups, the ones that worked with, I don't know how many people worked together on making this board set and coming up with this design, but it looks just like the Array Solution ones. At any rate, there's a company in England that he has that makes the filter or makes the capacitors to tune these filters on here, and they're 1% tolerance. You order them straight from them, and it's like $260 for the capacitors to go in these 2 boxes. So you can see by that, by building the little cheaper filters, it's a big difference in the money you spend on it. But at any rate, that's what a big filter looks like. And Henry's got some of these filters that he's bought, but they're single filters in a single box. It looks like one of the TVI filters, and this is just putting all of them in one box and having it so the rig will auto switch the filter, and it also will auto switch to the right antenna for the band, and everything's automatic, and you don't have to worry about. And it also locks the other bands out, so the rig can't go to another band and select the antenna for it that somebody else is on. So it kind of makes a whole automatic system. But you can see how even if you've got a dipole and maybe you've got a 10-15 meter tri-bander and you've got a rig hooked to the dipole that you're letting set on 80, and you go down on 10, 15, or 20 and you've got a kilowatt amp, you fire that thing up. Even if the other rig's not on, you've got a good chance of over time blowing the front end out in it. So that was my idea of showing everybody this chart and giving you an idea of how critical it is. And I mean, I didn't realize that it was this bad until we got to looking at things really close for field day. So that's it wasn't a long program, but I thought it was something that might be useful to somebody. Anybody have any kind of questions? I probably can't answer, but I'll try.
What's the website that had all the information?
Which information?
The first one, the guy that you sent it to. Not the
The guy with all the
other.
charts.
The W8JI?
W8JI, and if you search his site for antenna coupling and put W8JI, it'll take you to his page on that. But the guy has a super page on anything from grounding to whatever, and he's got a big contest station, and It's on the second level or up on over a garage. And when you get up off the ground, you get into all kind of grounding issues, and he's got stuff like the entire bottom, I think, of the operating room is a wire mesh, and that's all grounded back. But he's got some killer stuff as far as the way he's done all of his antennas and whatnot, and really has a lot of information on your interference you get from different things. I've got a problem at the house that I've not been able to trace yet. I thought I was on the track of it several weeks back when I found an article that a guy posted on the contest reflector that when he would transmit on, say, 40 meters, it was just tearing stuff up on other bands, and he had like overload that he couldn't get rid of, and filters wouldn't handle it. And what he ended up finding was a couple of switching power supplies that he had on some MFJ antenna switches, running them. And what was happening is when he would transmit on 40, those things would pick the signal up and actually put it on his whole AC line. And it was causing him to have overload problems like crazy over all the other bands. And he chased it and found out it was 2 power supplies he had. And I've got some problem like that at the house, and I've not been able to find it in 3 years. I've tried everything under the sun, and I'm still chasing it. And I'm down to the point now I think I need a different antenna, and hopefully that might get rid of it. But my biggest problem is all my stuff's too close together, and I'm going to fight stuff from now on with the closeness of it. But at any rate, that's about all I have. Nobody has any questions. Anybody that needs any of this information I've got, I can stick it on a thumb drive or shoot it to you on the net if you need it. So, be glad to do that.
Did you get the 40 meter working? Did you get the 40 meter filter?
No, I haven't had time to go back to it. I built all the filters. I built one whole set of filters so far, 10 through 80. I got the 40 meter built, and even went over to Don's the other night and we played around a little bit just to see what we could do. But all the other filters have less than a 1 dB loss through the filter on the band they're tuned for. And like I said, around 40 dB dip on either side on the next adjacent bands. But the 40 meter one, I never could get better than right at a 2 dB loss through it. And we've tried everything under the sun, even taking the coils out and putting toroids in there in place of it to try to change some of the coupling effects. What happens in it too, as you put the case on there, the whole thing changes. There's one coil in there that once we changed it out and put a toroid in, which keeps the field within the toroid, then that coupling problem went away, but we still didn't get the loss down through it. So I've got to go back and do a little research, see if I can figure out what's going on with the 40 meter one. But the 10, 15, 20, and 80 work like their specs say, and they're right on the money with it. So I don't know what's going on with the 40, but I got to figure that one out. At this point, we've got the PSK antennas built. We've got the 15 meter Moxon built. I've got a 20 meter it's like a Moxon 2 kind of. And I've got a 10 meter quad. I've got a 6 meter quad. I've got to fix 2 40 meter dipoles. We're going to have one 40 meter vertical that can be set up in just a few minutes. I've got to fix an 80 meter antenna, and we're going to use the 80 meter loop the club used to have and have up all the time. We're going to have that on the GOTA station, so the GOTA people can be able to help put that up and get it going. We're going to use a tuner on it, and they should be able to cover whatever band, and then I'm going to have filters there for them to be able to put a filter in. And we're probably going to have to coordinate the other people running, say, sideband on a band to allow them to get on there and make some contacts, so we don't, because we can't run 2 sideband stations on 40 at the same time. So going to have to be some coordinating between them. I've got people that are, per se, like band captains for every one of the bands except for 20 meters and 6 meters. And what their job is to stay with that station if they're going to be there the whole time, or it can be multiple people that's just there at certain times that can be with that rig and look for band openings, or if anybody comes up that wants to operate that's not experienced, they can sit there with them and help them operate, show them how to use the login program, whatnot like that. Next club meeting, Henry's planning on doing a little thing on the login program we're going to use so everybody can see what it looks like. And I found one online that's a freebie that we're going to have probably on a couple little PCs that is real simple. It's just nothing but 3 windows to put the call and the info in. So I think it'll be pretty easy for anybody to use. But what we want to try to do is get as many people that'll operate to come out, and whoever the band captain for that rig is, then have them sit down and operate, even if it's for just a few contacts. Because we want activity is what we want. And we'd like to see 100 people show up. But anyway, that's where we're at, and that's all I have.
It's a 40-minute vote.
Yeah, that's
So we get put off for August.
In light of the time, we can't show the Arecibo video. Why don't we take a short break and meet back here at 8:25? Is that good with everybody? And then we'll start with the auction.
Projector anymore?
No.